second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is?
Hello, and welcome to episode 75 of PvA Radio. My name is Luke Croft, and I am your host, and joining me, as always, freelance gaming journalist Cody Mellocline. Cody, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I feel like I'm sort of caught in a time loop, but that's beside the point.
I think we've all felt like that, and then it's only been compounded by the fact that this is the second week in a row we have console details to talk about, and one of those games that they talked about was Deathloop. So it's all on theme.
It is. I'm just running through a death loop in my head constantly.
Joining us also, the dog whisperer, Larry Hunt.
Dogs. Yeah, that's a great joke. I love it.
You want to tell the people why I've named you the dog whisperer today?
Because I was late for the show, because I went for a 1 mile run, and then there was a big old boy who barked and did not want to let me return home, so I had to find an alternate route.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke had some things to say about that dog, and I don't appreciate them.
Yeah, we won't repeat those here. Before we jump into it, I want to give a shout out to Staffidi in the chat, throwing us the Twitch Prime sub, because he's watching us live over here on twitch.tv/itishoagie, which is where you can catch the PvA Radio every single week on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. And we greatly appreciate just the viewership in general, but we appreciate when you follow, and we definitely appreciate it when you throw those sweet, sweet subs and take it right out of Jeff Bezos' pocket so that it can't go to his alimony, which is where it goes directly.
Mm-hmm.
What if that was the stipulation? Like, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife got all Twitch Prime sub money. That was
That'd be quite a deal.
Unclaimed.
I feel like claiming any portion of Bezos' money is just you're set.
The guy has he's worth $176 billion. He doesn't have $176 billion, but he's worth $176 billion, which is only about $176 billion more than I'm worth. So
yeah.
Well, that thought makes me sad. This is PvA Radio. It's a gaming podcast where me and these two knuckleheads get together and we talk about all of the biggest gaming news that's happened in the last week. There's not it's comprehensive. There's not a story we miss, and if we don't talk about it, it's because it's not important. Simple as that. All right.
I'm comfortable with that fully.
Pretty straightforward.
we are the dictators of what is important in the gaming industry.
Tastemakers.
So, the tastemakers, if you will. That's better than dictators. Dictators hits a little hard in these days.
Yeah.
We already told you.
Being thrown out quite a bit.
And I wouldn't say loosely.
No, I wouldn't say loosely either. Appropriately.
Yeah. I already told you where you can watch us live, but if you can't watch us live, which, let's just be honest, guys, you want to watch us live because you want to participate in the chat, because we do love interacting with you guys, talking about your thoughts that you bring up in the middle of the show. So if you're hanging out, feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat. But if you're not hanging out, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PvA Radio. You can watch it there the very next day, or you can find us on podcast services everywhere, which I believe we are now fully a go on all podcast services. So if we are still missing on a podcast service that you prefer, please let me know. Tweet at me at @itishoagie on Twitter, and I'll make sure to get it up.
Or just switch to the superior podcasting platform, Illuminary.
Yes, where Conan O'Brien is revolutionizing the platform. So... All right, guys. Well, let's just jump into the rigmarole. We got a lot to get to today, and we're going to start here at the top with the dive. That's what the sound effect will be when we eventually create the sound effect. Have you guys ever heard of this thing called the PS5, whatever that stands for?
Yeah, it's that clam thing, right?
It's a PlayStation gaming entertainment system. So, and it's the 5th iteration of it. And we got a little event about it today. And I want to talk about all of the cool things that were shown, all of the announcements that were revealed, and get you guys' thoughts on them. Staffidi in the chat wants to know, can I get a transcript of the podcast via carrier pigeon? And I'm going to leave that up to Cody to decide.
I do transcribe every episode. They're currently carried out by ravens, though, not by pigeons. But I'm sure we can pivot to pigeons if that's what you need.
I feel like we don't have the budget for ravens, so pigeons is probably.
Oh, it's coming out of my pocket entirely.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. Yes, only ravens. Then.
Well, then can we upgrade to bald eagles?
Can we do what?
Okay, that's true. That would be quite an upgrade from ravens to bald eagles, though.
How many bald eagles are there?
Enough.
Some park ranger comes by, sir, what are you doing to that bald eagle? I'm taping episode 75 of PvA Radio to his leg, sir. Can you please allow me to carry on with my day? Felicia Miranda gave us the rundown of everything that was revealed at the PlayStation 5 event. So, before we jump into this, I do want to pump the brakes and get us back on the rails here, because I've been derailing us. Had there not been a billion leaks that caused Xbox to go ahead and reveal all of their shit last week, they would have had a competing event here against PlayStation this week in the details, and it would have been just an epic gamer moment, right?
That's what they call them.
That is, it's an official title. So, PlayStation came out, what was it, late last week, and said that they were going to do this event on the 16th, and we have gotten it. And so I want to give a high-level overview of all of the various announcements that were shown, and then we can just talk about the ones that interest us, because I'm sure that there's some stuff in here that doesn't particularly strike any of our fancies. So here we go. I'm just scrolling through Felicia Miranda's breakdown here. First things first, Final Fantasy 16 shown with a cinematic trailer. We'll talk about, how do you guys want to do this? Do you want to talk about each one as we go through, or do you want to save it till the end? Just go through them all. I'll leave it up to you.
Let's just hit them one at a time. I think.
All right, cool.
Lightning round some of these, I think.
Yeah. We'll start with Final Fantasy 16. Thoughts on that?
Looks awesome. Always looks beautiful, and I think it'll be really successful on the heels of the previous Final Fantasy game. But I personally am not that interested. It's not my kind of game.
Yeah. I mean, it's an exclusive. That's huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
Yeah.
15 did well. 7 did really well. 7 was exclusive to PlayStation. Or no, was 7 exclusive to PlayStation?
The remake?
The remake?
Yeah, it's like a timed exclusive.
Oh, it was. Yeah, timed exclusive. But I mean, this is a big. I mean, Final Fantasy is massive, so this is a huge get for them.
I mean, it's a huge get. Just in like, I'm a firm believer that the exclusive game, and when it comes to third parties, is like a volume game, right? Like you want to try to accrue as many of these as you can, to like within reason. But I really think the people who would be most interested in Final Fantasy 16 would already be like PlayStation's audience. Like, I don't think there's a ton of... This is
going to be a running theme of this conversation, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that as we go through. But like,
yeah,
I'm not saying Final Fantasy 16 is not a big get for PlayStation. It absolutely is. But sure. I don't think it puts a dent in anything that, like, if this is a title that is a decision maker for you, you're probably a PlayStation player to begin with.
Yeah.
So one other interesting thing to note about this was this game was not, the footage for this was not captured on a PS5 itself. It was emulated on a PC. Now everything else we were going to talk about was captured on a PlayStation 5, but I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if it was maybe like because of COVID and production stuff, maybe they hadn't gotten development units or units that they could capture on in time. But I thought that was just kind of a strange little caveat to start, because when it first showed up, I was like, oh shit, is this like everything that's going to be shown here is just emulated? Yeah. But it wasn't. It was the only one.
Sure. But that is caveat it with whatever language you want, but that is notable, I think, especially because we've seen a lot of Sony exclusives come to PC as of late. Even though it's years after those games have come out, it is notable that they're kind of moving a little bit more in that direction.
Yeah. Next, we had Spider-Man Miles Morales gameplay trailer.
Rad. I think I'm the only one who played the PS4 Spider-Man, right?
I played a bit of it. I never finished it, but I played quite a bit of it, and looks like more of that awesome, like, kinetic but still really controlled combat, and
with a great character.
One of the things I wasn't all about with the original Spider-Man, and that appear to be in heavy use here, are QuickTime events. Like, just not really big on those, even in these giant set pieces.
I never felt like they were obtrusive they were in abundance in the last one. They definitely front load a lot of the QuickTime events in that game.
That's probably my problem then. That was the majority of my play, was the front loading of it. So.
But I think this. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed Spider-Man, and I mean the confusion around what this game has been is another topic. It is. We talked about it even before we were recording, but it is. I mean, it's a standalone kind of piece of content and expansion, whatever you want to call it, in the vein of Lost Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks just as beautiful as the base game did. I'm intrigued by some of the elements. I will say, like, they're clearly drawing a lot of inspiration. I mean, not only from the comics, but I think from what people really liked about Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. Like, when it was a small thing, but even I noticed it. Like, when the combat kicks in, there's like a beat drop, and it kind of like shifts into orchestral / kind of hip hop inspired music, which I find really cool because that kind of draws on Miles as a character. So the more they can kind of differentiate Peter Parker and Miles is for the better of that game, and they seem to be doing with the moveset too. Like he can turn invisible, he has electric shock powers and all that. So it looks like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think one thing to mention about kind of everything that we saw throughout this was, like, I don't know if this was a pivot from Sony based off of what Xbox has done in the past, or if this was just their strategy to begin with, but a lot of gameplay being shown within what was revealed here. But, and I think this is a running theme we're going to continue to come back through at the start of this generation, is just like, I'm sure that there are things being achieved within these trailers that cannot be achieved on the PlayStation 4. But visually, I'm not really able to parse that out in any kind of meaningful way.
Well, it's also it's worth pointing out that, like, Miles Morales and a few other key games in their portfolio are going to launch cross-generationally, which I think is worth pointing out, and perhaps a disappointment to some people, an excitement for other people who will kind of pivot, kind of shift into the next generation a little bit more slowly. It's nice that they're thinking of them, but it does impact, I think, what we're going to be seeing in terms of these presentations.
Yeah. Even though I'm not always the fastest to make the jump, I'm always a little disappointed to see how games are kind of held back in that transition period. But you know, just from a sheer strategy and selling games, it's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Also, Big Boy Roy's in the chat. Hey there.
Hello.
Big Boy Roy.
All right. Well, next reveal that we had was the Hogwarts Legacy, which takes place in the Harry Potter universe, but like 100 years before the Harry Potter universe. This has been a game that's been like gaming's worst kept secret for years and years. Because this is a WB game, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've heard about this Hogwarts, this Harry Potter RPG from Jason Schreier for 3 years now.
Yeah. When I saw this, I was like, oh, that's nice. It's finally here.
So I'll say this, like, I struggle with my relationship with Harry Potter, as I'm sure many fans do at this point. Because Harry Potter was, I wouldn't say it was like a massive part of my childhood by any means, You know, I read the first 2 books as a kid. I watched the first 2 movies as a kid. Then I kind of fell out of it. But then in my early adult life, like, I read through all the books and really kind of fell in love with the universe. But its creator is much maligned at this point for very good reasons. But I can't help but just be excited about this game, man. Like, this is just a universe that I think is worth exploring, and to remove it so far from the events of anything else that we've known within the franchise itself, like, is really cool to me as well, and makes me feel like as an RPG, this is going to tell a unique story and allow me to kind of like just explore a world in a way that I haven't had a chance to, because like even the what's the beasts, the Fantastic Beasts, like that series is what, the like 1920s, like it's post World War I era. So this game really intrigues me. I also love, like, it kind of had a darker feel to it. Like, it was really exploring some of like the dark magic stuff, which is really cool to me as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one for the same reasons. I don't know that I'll actually dive into it, but if I were to make time for an RPG this coming year, this would be the one I'd be interested in. For all those reasons, it really is going to be a unique story. It's not like you're a side character in the Harry Potter story. There's new stuff to explore, and I'm not super into that universe. So it may be just me, but there are a lot of creatures in that trailer that I don't recognize. Yeah. And that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I'm not super in Harry Potter. I know 100% I will be getting this game, whether or not I want to, because of my girlfriend. She's a Potterhead, and so I'm excited for this game just because of that. It'll give her a chance to explore that. I do recognize that, like, kind of some of the best universes or fictional universes, Harry Potter, perhaps more so than most, like, prompts people to say, "Oh, what would I be in that world? Like, am I a Gryffindor? Am I a Slytherin? What classes would I take?" It's sort of because of the nature of the fact that it takes place in a school. I think people can relate to it on a lot of levels, and so I'm interested to see more about it, because we really didn't get a sense of like what combat is like. Are there dialogue choices? I assume there are. If it's marketing itself as an RPG. Does your character talk?
Yeah,
that is a big thing for me. Like, more and more I've become unable to play games with silent protagonists.
You've been ruined by The Witcher.
I was ruined by The Witcher. It's true. But like, people, we can go off. This is a tangent, but like, if someone talks to me and I just stare at them, it immediately takes me out of the universe. I'm like, you're a fucking weirdo. What the hell is going on?
Especially like close friendships. It's like, how does this work? This guy just like pours his heart out to you because you're there, and there's never any reciprocation.
Thanks, bro. I'm glad to know that you're always there for me.
Yeah. Steffi says you didn't like Fallout 4.
Fallout 4 wasn't the protagonist voiced?
Yeah, that was the first Fallout game where the protagonist was voiced.
Yeah.
Every other Fallout game, on the other hand.
Yeah.
They didn't carry that over to 76, but
no.
There are a lot of things they didn't carry over to 76, like functional gameplay. So,
yeah.
Whoa! Are you telling me there's functional gameplay in other Bethesda games?
There's something that functions. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see more about the Harry Potter world. I do acknowledge that, like, the developers probably had no idea what world they would be launching this game into, both in terms of the world at large, but also the world's relationship to J.K. Rowling and this universe. You don't really assume that the creator of the work that you're creating your game inside will start kind of spouting transphobic rhetoric.
It's got to suck for anybody that's working there to see shit going down and just be like,
sure,
come on, like, why are you making my job harder?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's people seem to be able to reconcile that behavior with the universe. I personally can't, but I know a lot of people can, so I'm sure it will do well. But this was, I mean, this, as you said, this was like the worst kept secret in games. So to finally see it, get confirmation is nice.
Yeah. The next thing we got, guys, I've determined what the easiest job in the games industry is. All right, and it is scripting a Call of Duty gameplay reveal video. All right, because they're all the fucking same. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but anytime they're like, all right, big gameplay reveal for Call of Duty, it's always, all right, guys, we're going in quiet. Here's some stealth gameplay as we sneak through to try to accomplish. Oh shit, it's gone to hell. Everything's blowing up. Oh man, we got an RC car. We got to run it under this cargo ship, blow everything up. Like that's the basic. That's the basic cadence of all Call of Duty gameplay reveals, and I'm like, do they just pull the same storyboard out every year when they go to do these things? But I guess when you're annualizing a title, you've got to, have some sort of templated thing. You guys have any thoughts on Call of Duty? Go ahead, Larry.
Just clip that description out, and you can roll it next year when we talk about Call of Duty. Like, we're good. We're good for the rest of podcasting.
Do you guys have any other thoughts on Call of Duty?
I don't. It's COD.
Call of Duty.
It's COD again, and it's fun. People keep buying it because it's a fun game, but it's not really that different.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep on going then. Next story. Next reveal was Resident Evil Village. Now, Larry, you thought Silent Hill was going to be here. I know there's multiple other people who believe Silent Hill was going to be here, but no,
there were rumors swirling. I was so sad not to see it.
But we got Resident Evil 8, and I didn't think that they could do better than the Resident Evil 7 logo. But by God, they did.
It's on point. It's on point.
And the trailer itself, this one really excites me. I'm a big fan of horror games, as you know, but they're Resident Evil games that feel more like action games, and they're like Resident Evil games that are really scary and spooky, and this one seems like it's going to be a really spooky version. I really like the fairy tale aesthetic, and this creepy old woman's really messing with me. So
you want to come play it in VR at my house?
I thought I was going to hurl, man. And not because of the game, because of the VR. I'll come play it not in VR at your house.
I'll hold you to that. It's a long drive.
I'm going to ride a bike.
Oh, okay. No, I thought this trailer was really cool too. I like the, kind of like, although it's kind of overplayed, like the in the woods horror kind of thing, but I think Resident Evil's going to do it well.
Yeah. There for a while, I feel like Resident Evil kind of lost their identity, but over the last couple, they've found themselves.
Well, they understood that, like, oh shit, Silent Hill's not here anymore. Like, there's a couple kind of cult classics when it comes to survival horror, but there's really nothing in the AAA space anymore that's kind of pure survival horror to lean your hat on. To hang your hat on. So, because like, what are your other big survival horror games that are like much loved? Like Outlast.
Outlast is
is Evil Within would probably be one. Like, you're talking like a lot of smaller titles.
Mm-hmm.
The next trailer we got was for Deathloop, which this is the first time we've seen Deathloop since 2018.
I thought they showed it earlier. Didn't they show it earlier this year?
No, I'm thinking E3. But dude, time is a construct. Maybe they did show it earlier this year. They revealed it 2019 at E3.
Yeah.
But did they show it earlier this year?
I thought they showed it one time in between E3 and now.
They may
Big
have.
boy Roy is hyped for some Deathloop. He's losing his mind in the chat.
Yo, I cannot wait for this game.
I saw this. I was like, Cody about to vibe with this.
Bro, it is a vibe. Everything about Arcane games in general, I'm in support of. But like they managed to mesh style and substance in such an interesting way, and like between Dishonored and Prey, which I think was criminally underplayed by a lot of people, they really are creating games in like a very niche kind of way, like the kind of survival sim, System Shock, BioShock kind of way that most developers have kind of strayed away from. And this looks to kind of distill a lot of that stuff into a really ingenious concept that mixes, like, I see a lot of Hitman in what they're doing. I see a lot of Dishonored, obviously a lot of Dishonored in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I cannot get over the style of this game. Just the music, the art style, which is like pulling from a lot of kind of 60s mod stuff. Oh my God, I know it was delayed, but I cannot wait for this game.
Oh, so the Q2 2021 was a delay? Because I didn't know this had a time frame.
Yeah, I think they had said it was going to be winter fall 2020, and it got delayed to next year.
Oh, okay. Well, makes sense, man. Everything's getting delayed.
Yeah.
And then they this whole next section is very odd to me, if I'm being like totally transparent. So the next thing that they revealed was Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. And I know that Devil May Cry is like a popular franchise. Was Devil May Cry 5 like that popular? Like, was it that big?
Yeah, people really liked it. I don't know how it sold, but I know it hit well with a lot of people.
It just seemed like a weird thing to drop right here in the middle of this presentation to me, honestly. But I don't know enough about it.
I think that's probably more indicative of what they have at launch.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that, but I don't know. Sony does a good job of kind of catering to their niche audiences, I think, in these things. There's always kind of a section where I'm like, I guess that's a big deal.
Yeah. And then it got even weirder. Because
Otter, some might say.
yes, Otter. Because then they went with Oddworld Soulstorm, which is a mouthful.
Yeah.
By the way, I've never played an Oddworld game. They've never really looked like something that I'd be into. I will caveat that by saying, like, the company I work for publishes the physical edition of this game in some territory. Not this one, but other Oddworld games. So, but yeah, they've just never been my cup of tea.
Same. I've literally never played them.
Then we got another horror game that wasn't Silent Hill, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which
just
is
as scary as Silent Hill.
There are so many games in fucking Five Nights at Freddy in this franchise.
It's a universe.
Like, and it's just, and I feel like they're just constantly coming out with great regularity.
Doesn't take much. It's not they're resource intensive.
And then we got Demon Soul extended gameplay, which I honestly felt like it was a little bit of a debate when they first started showing it. Like, I didn't realize that it was Demon Soul. Like, I thought it was going to be a new entry in Dark Souls, but then they showed the Blue Point logo, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. This is Demon Souls. But it looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. I never got to play Demon Souls, but I've since played all of their games from Dark Souls on, so I'm pumped for this. And Blue Point is one of the best in the biz when it comes to remakes or remasters, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Then we got Unreal Engine 4 Fortnite gameplay, which looked like Unreal Engine 3 Fortnite gameplay to me. Again, I'm sure there's things that are being accomplished that couldn't be accomplished in the old engine, but it just looked like a Fortnite trailer.
Is that what Fortnite gamers are clamoring for? Ray tracing?
My nephew's just content to play on his Switch Lite. He doesn't give a shit.
Exactly.
And then came some of the big boy announcements here. So the first thing that they announced was the PlayStation Plus collection, which let me pull this article up because it'll have the full list of games. Also, why is IGN's website not secure? So this is from Miranda Sanchez. The PlayStation Plus collection is a PS5 upgrade to Sony's PlayStation Plus subscription service, and it's bringing with it several big games to the service at no additional charge. And those games are as follows. Stick with me, it's a long list. God of War, Bloodborne, Monster Hunter World, Final Fantasy 15, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat 10. Or is it Mortal Kombat X? I can never remember.
X, but it's 10.
Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, Until Dawn, Detroit Become Human, Battlefield 1, Infamous Second Son, Batman Arkham Knight, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us, Persona 5, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. Outside of Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us Part 2, and I guess like Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Is Final Fantasy 7 on there?
I don't see Final Fantasy 7 on here, but are there any first party exclusives that are missing?
None of the major ones.
Dreams?
The AAA one. Yeah, I mean, none of the maybe Dreams. None of the AAA ones that I can think of.
I feel like this is pretty huge, to be honest. So like, especially when you're thinking about people like you, Larry, you've been in the Xbox ecosystem since the Xbox, the OG Xbox, and you're starting to look and you're like, man, is this the time where I take the leap? And it's like, hey, the launch lineup that we have may not be like the most explosive thing, as most launch lineups tend to be, but hell, you get everything, like all of this major PS4 like history immediately day one on your console. Like for newcomers, I think this is a big deal.
Yeah, that list includes not all of, but most of the things that I would want to go back and play if I made the jump. There are a lot of things on that list that I missed that I wish I hadn't missed. The Last of Us, Until Dawn, the Uncharted 4, God of War. Yeah, all of that. It's a really big deal.
How can I ask you a question?
No, Larry, go ahead. Go ahead, Cody.
How large of a group do you think that is?
This making that leap?
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think it's going to be like everybody abandoning ship, but I feel like this go around there probably will be a significant exodus from Xbox for the reasons that I've stated for my own departure, which is just a lack. This whole generation was severely lacking in first party exclusives. There were so few great experiences that I could have on Xbox and nowhere else. And so if I'm going to have a PC and a console, I wouldn't go Xbox because there's almost 100% overlap between those two ecosystems. And if I've got to choose between the consoles, if this generation goes like last generation did, then PlayStation's the place to be, because you've got most of the important experiences on various platforms, and PlayStation they've just been killing it on these story experiences. I didn't get any of those on Xbox exclusively this generation, really.
And Phil Spencer has essentially come out, I mean, not essentially, he did come out and just say, like, hey, there's not going to be any true Xbox Series X exclusive in the first couple of years of this console's life. Like, we're planning on having a slow migration to having just... And look, that's what PlayStation's going to ultimately do at the end of the day, too, probably. It's just not a stated thing. So I think... as far as urgency is concerned, there's probably more urgency being felt to make the leap from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, or just into PlayStation 5 as a next-gen console, than there is urgency being felt to go from Xbox One X to Xbox Series S or X. And so within that, I think you'll have a lot of people who are like, well, I'm going to hold on to my Series X, onto my Xbox One X, because I can continue to play the games that are coming out. And so I'll just pick up, the PlayStation 5. I've got this library of games automatically if I'm a PlayStation Plus subscriber. I don't think it's anything that can be ignored, and I think this is a strategy to compel more and more people to make that leap. Like, I think this is a decision-making feature for some people of like, oh man, I can get this console and I'm automatically given 15, 20 titles right out of the gate to sink my teeth into.
I guess I just feel like most of the people that would be interested in playing these games have already played them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if you were a gamer who was compelled by these kinds of games, or was a PC player who wanted to be able to play Sony exclusives, you would probably either have a PlayStation and PC or have Xbox and PC for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the fact that it's bundled in with your subscription. That it's not like to have made this an extra cost. I think would have been a very poor. But the fact that it's bundled in is nice, and it certainly will create like a cushion of content similar to Game Pass when the console first launches. For when there's that kind of inevitable doldrum of content that's at the beginning. I think as a stake in the ground in terms of subscription services, if you're comparing it to Game Pass, is obviously far inferior. If this is their answer to Game Pass, then I think it's not up to snuff. But that I don't think that's their. This is heavily curated, and I think what they envision it as is exactly what you're saying, which is to pull people who haven't been able to get into Sony's ecosystem during this past generation, to kind of give them a little bit extra incentive. Because all of these games are good to great, other than maybe a few of them, and they're all quality. And there are a lot. I think there are plenty of third-party games on there too. So like Arkham Knight and
Mortal
a few
Kombat,
others.
Battlefield,
yeah, and which are all also great. Interesting that they've focused. It was interesting and notable to me that they're exclusively AAA games.
Yeah, well, I think that there's an oversensitivity to this. I'm not saying it's right, but I think there's an oversensitivity when you include a lot of indie games in these kinds of things, because people are like, oh, they just added a bunch of indies for fluff. Like, I think that's a criticism that people have of Game Pass is like,
sure,
oh yeah, they tout 150 games, but it's like 20 AAA games. The rest is just indie, and it's unfair, obviously. But I think there's an avoidance there. I think also interesting to note here is that this is a part of PlayStation Plus and not a part of PlayStation Now.
Yes.
When we're talking about subscription stuff, like Sony has tried every way imaginable to pivot around PlayStation Now. They've made different changes. You can download direct from PlayStation Now in order to play. So the fact that they tossed these things into PlayStation Plus instead of PlayStation Now, I think speaks to where they kind of feel like they stand in the their legitimate subscription offer.
Sure.
Big Boy Roy says, I think Microsoft's goal was to get gamers who have lost interest in consoles back in the mix. I plan on getting a Series S just because the deal is too good. PS5 will always bring back the Sony stands and will always take the care in terms of exclusives, but I think Microsoft realized there's no point to fight that exclusives battle after this generation.
Yeah. Well, they have heavily invested in buying up studios.
That's
Whether
true.
or not it's exclusive in the sense that Sony's viewing it as is a different thing.
They've definitely given up the box-to-box exclusive concept.
Yeah.
Because all of their games are going to be playable on PC in some way, shape, or form. But, when you step back and you look at it, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, like those games have come to PC as well. That mistake with the Final Fantasy thing of like it being on PC as well, like it's probably eventually going to come to fit to
that was Demon Souls.
Oh, I'm sorry, Demon Souls, not Final Fantasy. But Final Fantasy said it was a console exclusive to PlayStation, and so I agree with you there somewhat, Big Boy Roy. I think Microsoft understands the importance of owning IP. I think they have not given up. That's not the right word, but I do think they've recognized like, oh, well, just trying to go like toe to toe, like my box has these games and your box doesn't, isn't the way that they want to approach the future, and that's a strategy decision. Whether it's the right one or not is to be seen.
Yeah.
And then I think that was all the important stuff, right?
Sure. No last look.
No, two major important things. First is price point for these consoles. The PlayStation 5 with the disc is going to be $499 real dollars, and then they showed a bunch of fake currency under it, so if you use any of that. And then the all digital edition is going to be $399. It's going to launch on November 12th in select territories and then worldwide on November 19th. Go ahead, Larry.
real quick, I just want to establish this because I couldn't figure it out, but for sure, maybe you guys caught it. Are the two consoles basically the exact same thing, just no disk drive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are the same thing, no disk drive.
That stood out to me because it was only $100 more than the Series S. But we talked a little bit about this last week, but the Series S, there is a somewhat fair criticism that it's not really that next gen in terms of what it is. So I think that the cheaper PlayStation does kind of have a leg up in terms of what it's going to be able to do.
Yeah, so both of these boxes are doing 4K. Both of these boxes are doing everything as far as the same exact graphics card, same exact RAM. So it's just that it has a disk drive, and that disk drive functions as a UHD Blu-ray player. So, which is something that no PlayStation console has had before. Correct? You can't play back UHD DVDs or Blu-rays. I said DVDs. Look at me, boomer.
Blu-ray laser discs.
Yeah, you can't put in a massive laser disc into that thing. You got to break it up into little pieces. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, I talked last week about how I thought Sony was going to be able to, they were going to struggle to be able to compete from a price point perspective, and I still think that's true. I think that, especially holiday shopping, when you've got a parent standing there and it's like, oh, well, this next gen box is $299 and the cheapest next gen box from this company is $399. Like, not uninformed decisions like are going to happen like that. But I think a $399 price tag on the digital edition is far more competitive with the $299 price tag because of the things that this console is going to be capable of that the Series S isn't capable of, particularly 4K gaming, which I think is important to a lot of people, especially in console gaming where the resolution has always been like the peak talk. Like a big kind of YouTube content is like resolution comparisons, and you remember like one of the things that hurt the Xbox One out of the gate was like they were running everything at like 900p rather than 1080p, right? So resolution is a talking point for a lot of console gamers, and because this box is able to do 4K at only $100 more, and the Series S is all digital as well, so it's not like they'd even point to that and be like, well, I can play physical media on that.
Big Boy Roy says it'll be interesting to see how many people really want that disk drive, and I think the fact that it can play UHD, like, that's a pretty big deal to me. I still have not moved from Blu-ray to UHD, but if I could bundle that in with a console, that's appealing to me. And it's not like 4K is a thing that just came out, so that's another thing that kind of strikes against the Xbox.
Yeah, 4K TVs are pretty cheap now.
Yeah,
pretty affordable, I should say.
And you can't get UHD players for pretty cheap.
No,
right?
I was scouring Reddit comments of this announcement, and a lot of people were talking about their like justification for buying a digital the disc-based version of this console, and most of them didn't care about the actual physical games media. They were just like, I want to be able to play UHD Blu-rays, like, because I think a standalone UHD Blu-ray player is still like $300, right?
I mean, I haven't gone shopping for one, but I know just from perusing prior to the pandemic that it's not like buying a Blu-ray player.
All right, we're old guys. So there's some around the $150 mark. But then, I mean, but still, like, if you're planning on buying one of these next gen consoles and you also want a UHD player, it's at the very least 150. There's some still here for like $300, but okay, I'll just pay another $100 and I don't have to have two boxes under my cabinet. So
I'm going digital future, baby.
Oh, me too.
I could give two shits about a UHD player. And I think the majority of people either don't know what that is or don't care about it.
Yeah.
Well, the other appealing aspect to it is going to be, just remembering the sheer number of people in less populated areas that don't have access to great internet. Sure. So if they're going to want the 4K experience, it's going to have to be a physical thing.
Even with that stuff, though, like more and more and more, the games that we purchase either have to be persistently online or they're coming with just insane patches that have to be downloaded for it. I mean, like day one patches, or I mean, like we meme about it, but like it's a serious issue that Call of Duty constantly has. Like when Warzone came out, it was an 80 gig required update, even if you did not plan on playing Warzone. Like that's huge. And so
they've since had like 15 gigabyte, 12 gigabyte regular updates to Warzone.
Yeah, and then think about the number of games that it's like, oh, this is a bundle deal, like Crash, where it's like the first game's on the disc, the rest are download codes in the box or whatever. Like, I find it funny how many people like are just kind of clutch at this. Oh, I like owning my games physically. It's like you don't own the majority of that game physically. It doesn't exist that way. Like single player games, yeah, like, you know, The Last of Us or Uncharted, those games, like those are all on the disc, but pretty much any of these other games, like, yeah, you have a disc you put in that verifies you still own the thing, but then you're just playing a digital version of it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I think this is going to be a very interesting generation to watch pan out. And I think we are not as... I think coming out of the PlayStation 4, Xbox One announcements, we kind of knew where everybody stood going in. I don't think there's been really a misstep by either company through this.
Yeah, well, not by the companies themselves.
Well, yeah. You want to touch on that?
We can touch on it later, but the pre-order situation around PS5 kind of became absolute chaos today.
Yeah.
Not from anything Sony did, just retailers acting out.
Yeah.
I will be interested to see for the pre-orders how many people pre-order the digital edition, and then post pre-orders when the console is actually out, how many people pick up the digital edition over the disc edition.
So
because pre-orders are obviously put in by people like us who follow this stuff pretty closely, are obsessed with having the latest gadget.
I saw the top comment on the Reddit post that I was on was like, rest in peace to all the kids who are going to open up the digital version of this console and then the 5 physical games that their parents bought them to go with it.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh shit, that's true. Like, I haven't really thought about, like, I mean, we had the Xbox SAD, which is what it was, the Xbox S all digital edition. We had that. But I don't think we've had like where they're putting them alongside one another and like presenting them as like these are two equal options within this ecosystem. Like I felt like the all digital edition of the Xbox was kind of like a use case thing. Like, hey, if you find yourself migrating away from physical media, this box is here. But now it's like, here's where we are. These two things, really great options. We're going to push them equally. We're not pushing one or the other. And I do think you're going to get a lot of uninformed parents who are purchasing these things and have like no clue that, oh, we don't put a disc in this. We have to download. But then it's like all those kids just want to play Fortnite anyway.
I also have a genuine question about like, so I know some of the last gen titles are going to get upgraded. Like you can get an upgraded version. So I know The Witcher is doing this, Control is doing this. And then some stuff coming out this fall is going to do that. If you buy the physical version of that game and you get a discless console, how do you upgrade?
You don't.
You just can't?
I would assume.
That sucks.
I mean, how else would they validate your ownership of it, right? Because if I just...
I know.
Because if I just had the disc... validated, I can just go sell it.
I physically own The Witcher 3 because I was still buying physical media at that time in 2015. I've stopped doing that since. But like if I were to get, I wouldn't be able to upgrade to the next one without buying it full price again, which I would be willing to do because obviously I'm a maniac. But like,
that's what they're banking on.
I mean,
not to mention you
can
buy
a hardcore Witcher fan.
You can buy the complete Witcher for $20 on any given seasonal sale from
Sure.
PlayStation. But no, I get what you're saying.
It's just an unfortunate side effect of this.
Big Bro Roy asked maybe through your account. So your physical games are not actually tied to your account. Even if like it's a game like, let's say, Call of Duty, you buy, but the majority of it is a download anyway. Like, the game isn't on your account. On consoles, you use your disc as a way to validate your continued ownership of that thing. So even if like the whole thing, because even on PlayStation 4 now, like, you don't actually play your games off of the disc. You play them off of the hard drive after they're installed. And so, but in order to validate that I still own that game, I have to put it into the console. Yeah,
and obviously we know Sony made a big deal about game sharing last go around.
You can just hand it
dumb
over.
Video about it.
So I guess we've been kind of talking around this point, but I want to ask, what are you guys' next gen like, everything's been laid out now, price points and everything. What are your next gen purchasing plans? And also, chat, let us know yours.
Right now, I'm still planning to stay the course on. I think I'm going to transition to my PC being my main gaming machine. I don't think I'll be buying either console at launch, and I'll just kind of wait and see if one of them becomes more appealing to me. And I'll say this: if Halo Infinite hadn't been delayed, I probably would have jumped into Xbox immediately, just because my wife and I like to play Halo together, and we would have had to have had a console for that. But it did get delayed, and there's just, outside of that, there's no reason for me to make that jump right out of the gates.
I'm going to buy Series X at launch, and then probably buy PS5 in 2021.
Ooh.
The fact that every single game that they are have at launch is available on PS4 makes me really not inclined to get it at launch. Especially with some of the stuff we'll talk about later in terms of scarcity of production.
So why does that logic not apply also to the Series X for you?
They have come out with a more robust lineup of games that are just going to be on Series X. Also Game Pass. Yeah. I'll be able to play. I mean, that migrates across. I just feel like Microsoft has given me more of an incentive to get Series X, and have made it a lot easier to upgrade current games that are going to be released on this generation to the next generation. They've just given me more feature-driven and accessibility-driven reasons to buy their console at launch over Sony's, I would say. Not like their launch lineup, as we talked about last week, is particularly robust, but they are going to have games that you can only play on Series X at launch, which is something that Sony can't say at the moment.
So, I'll tell you what I want to do, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I want to buy the PS5 digital edition at launch, because I don't buy physical media. Cody and I were talking about this before you hopped on, Larry. Like, I was trying to think of the last piece of, like, the last in-box game I've purchased, and I can't tell you. Like, I think I was working at GameStop the last time I bought a physical game.
Yeah,
and that was when Cody and I first met. So I've already made that transition to digital. I don't need a UHD Blu-ray player. I don't watch movies. So what I want to do is be like disciplined and say, all right, well, I can get that mid-November. I'm flying home for Christmas for a couple weeks anyway, and I'm not taking either of those consoles with me. I'm going to take my gaming PC or my gaming laptop. And I'll buy the Series X when I get back, because I want the Series X, and I know I'll like get gift cards and shit for Christmas that I can go ahead and put towards it. That's what I want to do. But what I'm gonna do is buy both of these damn things at launch. So despite the fact that I don't own a home, the room that you see, what exists behind this green screen is the space that I have. I'll still probably buy both. So Big Boy Roy says, PC will always be my home. Series S for an extra $10 a month. I'm pretty much just doing it for fun. Without the sub service, I wouldn't be buying games. I wouldn't be buying either console. I think that the Xbox All Access is going to be a big selling point as well. I say that, but I'm also wondering this, like, is the All Access only available through Xbox Direct? Like, do I have to go to xbox.com in order to buy? Like, I can't go to Walmart and buy it through All Access. I can't go to GameStop. Like, I can't go to a physical retailer and do that, right? They need to figure out how to do that. Like, if I was Xbox, I'd figure out, like, okay, well, what does it look like to have GameStop or
the Microsoft Store,
or the Microsoft Store, the 6 of them that exist? Like, like, how do we facilitate this? Because, like, I can just imagine GameStop being able to say, like,
oh, well, hold on.
If
you go to Microsoft, if you go to the website, there's like literally a button under it that says find a retailer. Best Buy, Walmart, and Target are participating retailers. Microsoft Store and GameStop are coming soon.
Oh, that's weird that Microsoft Store is coming soon. That's funny. Okay, well, I was talking. I apologize. I was talking out of my ass there. That's good. That's good. They needed to broker that partnership, because if I've got somebody on the fence at GameStop, dude, they're going to be so fucking aggressive.
Yeah,
they're going to be so aggressive. Like, because here's the thing. I worked at GameStop for years. They're going to try to train their employees to steer people the fuck away from an Xbox Series S and an Xbox and a PlayStation All Digital Edition. Like, that's the last thing they want, are people buying all digital consoles. So they're, oh my gosh, GameStop is going to aggressively be like, hey, just think about it. For $35 a month, you can have the Xbox Series X at launch, and you get all this other shit. Like, that's an upsell right there. Like think about how hard they push you to buy a $20 GameStop, Pro membership every single time you go in there. $35 to own a whole console. $35 a month to own a whole console, dude. That's gonna be the upsell right there.
I did see Russ Frushtick over at Polygon. He tweeted out earlier today: GameStop selling all digital PS5s equals Bison selling hunting rifles to the settlers of the American.
Fun fact, I've been listening to this podcast called Presidential, and James Harrison
Bison actually did sell the first rifle.
Well, James Harrison is considered our first like conservationist president, because he protected the seal population. Well, the guy that was hosting the podcast went and looked back on other like conservation laws that had taken place, and there was only one that had been proposed during Ulysses S. Grant's administration to protect the buffalo. But he was like, nah, man, we got to kill all this buffalo because we're
manifest
destiny. We got to kill all the buffalo. So funny that we brought up buffalo on this podcast. In a way, Ulysses S. Grant sold the hunting rifles to the settlers. No, that's a good point though. Like, I don't think you're going to see these physical retailers like going out of their ways to sell the digital versions of these consoles, because it's like cannibalistic to themselves.
Yeah. Can we talk about the one last announcement from PlayStation?
Let's do it. Is this the blog?
Well,
no. The one last thing. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go for it. Kick us off.
They ended their conference, as all of these companies do, with a one last thing, and it was the barest of a one last thing, but it got people excited. It is the most teasery of a teaser trailer possible for the next God of War game. And with the tag that it is coming out in 2021. Now, whether or not that actually happens is another thing, but it certainly got a lot of people excited, myself included. I love, as Luke and I, we've talked about this. We both loved the last God of War game.
Yes.
Despite my utter apathy / disinterest / hatred of the earlier God of War games, I thoroughly enjoyed the new one. And so, I mean, this was like tiny. There was really just some dialogue of Kratos talking over the logo and mention of Ragnarok, which everybody who's played the last game knows was if there was a sequel, would kind of be the focus of the game. But the 2021 date was surprising, given the last one came out in 2018.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just I think I saw, who was it? I think I saw Tim Geddes post from Kind of Funny post, like he was theorizing that this was like a spin-off, or not a spin-off, but like an expansion similar in scope or price to Miles Morales, which I doubt, considering the fact that Ragnarok is pretty essential to the plot of the next game and the prior game.
Well, Corey Barlog has said multiple times that there's no expansions for God of War.
Sure, yeah, exactly. I just don't know how this is coming out in 2021.
No. It's because it's not. Look, two things. First of all, whoever was like doing the wrap up on this video production, like just leaned back in his chair and was like, "Yo, boss, what do you want on this end slate?" And the boss reeled back like, "I don't know, put 2021 on it. Nobody's gonna hold us fucking accountable for it."
COVID.
You know, like, there's a million built-in excuses as to why this isn't going to come out in 2021. We just got to give the people what they want, which is, you know, something to get excited about. But I'm going to tell you this right now, guys. If you see a AAA trailer that is just a logo, that game is not coming out within a year. All right?
Yeah.
If they had more to show, they would have shown it. And you got to think about it like this. Because you got to think about this in terms of like, okay, where are our big splashes made? E3 is like the tent pole, right? And then you've got all these other things. You got Gamescom, you got PAX, you got, you know, all these other events as well. But the problem is like, even big companies have to think about the releases of their titles by like, okay, how can we take advantage of these major beats? Like even someone like Sony relies on the excitement of like around E3. Like even if they're not at E3, they do things adjacent to E3 that get people excited. And so for a game like God of War, which we've seen Sony do time and time again, they got to show a game 19 times before they release it. Like they're not going to sit there and be like, all right, one E3 for us to just knock it out of the park. Like we're going to have to see a reveal trailer and a story trailer and a gameplay trailer. And here's the story so far. Like we're going to get multiple trailers out of this thing, and it's not coming out in 2021. You can take it to the bank. Larry, put a stream marker right here. We all say there's not a chance in hell this is coming out in 2021.
Absolutely.
And Big Boy Roy brings up the thing that I've been waiting to bring up, which is this is almost identical to the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement.
Yeah.
Which what was the second trailer for that game? I can't remember. Oh, because we haven't even seen it yet.
Where's Starfield?
Oh my god, that was just a logo too.
I'm still not convinced that that Elder Scrolls wasn't just a flyover of a lake that they got with a drone and then just put the Elder Scrolls logo over. All right. Well, let's move on. That's the dive. So we're going to move on to the slant, but we're going to stay in the PlayStation 5. This is the segment of the show where we talk about some of the biggest gaming news of the week. Let me just funnel through all of our scenes right now. We'll start here. This is from Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. We're sticking with IGN a lot today. PlayStation 5, Sony has reportedly cut launch window production by 4 million due to chip woes. This has been updated as well. So, oh, hold on. I haven't read this update. When was this updated?
It was updated earlier today.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You may want to skip that, yeah.
This just completely threw me off. So the original story, though, is that Sony has reportedly cut 4 million units from their launch production window, bringing the new total to around 11 million, following, quote, production issues with its custom designed system on chip for the new console, end quote. So this was reported by Bloomberg. The GameIndustry.biz apparently followed up, and Sony said they said, quote, while we don't release details related to manufacturing, the information provided by Bloomberg is false. We have not changed the production numbers for PlayStation 5 since the start of mass production, end quote. So this is kind of a he said, she said situation. What do you guys make of this?
I was just going to say, this might be a good time to bring up the other kind of chaotic Sony story that came out of all this, though, about the pre-orders today.
Yes.
I mean, my thoughts on this are clearly wasn't solidly reported.
Yeah.
And Sony's refuting it. Although, I mean, they have said that there have been some production. People have kind of speculated about production issues in the past, but I don't think it's ever been confirmed. But the thing that happened today was that all the retailers jumped the gun and started having pre-orders open for the PS5 the day before Sony said they were going to open them, and people bum rushed the digital storefronts and basically shut it down. Every storefront: Amazon, GameStop, Best Buy.
Yeah,
which is not how you want to start.
This is gonna
kind of order cycle.
This is gonna be a nightmarish launch season.
Yes, especially because of everything else going on.
Everything else that's going on, scalping has just become so easy to do. Like, you don't even have to leave your house to price gouge these consoles anymore. Like, and it's not even just that; it's that you don't have to leave your house and everybody knows how to do it. Like, at least like back in the 360 days when there was mass shortages, like, oh, you had to like go meet somebody somewhere or whatever. But like, I already know we're gonna get fucking stories about people buying empty PS5 boxes for $600 thinking there's a console inside of them. We're gonna get stories of, you know, PlayStation 5s getting listed on eBay for $2,500. Like, we're gonna see ridiculous shit coming out of this, and this gives me absolutely no hope for it. And this, combined with, like you were saying, Cody, whatever, you know, bad reporting may have taken place with the Bloomberg stuff, creates an additional panic around this, that, oh man, like a 4 million unit shortage means we're gonna have to hop on this instantly, and it's just disappointing.
There's always a shortage at launch, I feel like, or at least there has been for the past two. But
it's going to be compounded too.
It's certainly going to be compounded by COVID.
Yes.
And everything that's been happening with production pipelines as a result of that, and transportation pipelines.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on this, Larry?
Just in terms of what happened here, I suspect that the refutation is technically true, but I think that there probably have really been some production issues that
sure.
Especially
that's a thing that happened.
The little like since the start of mass production at the end, like that's a really easy way to slip in. Like, oh well, before we started mass production, we were planning on 15 million, and now it's down to 11 million. But that was after we started. Next story on our list. This one comes from GameSpot per an article from per an in-depth interview from Protocol. So this is Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick talking about cloud gaming and what he feels is the future of it. I'm not going to go through this entire article. I do encourage you to check out the Protocol interview, or just even this GameSpot article that'll be linked in the description of the video. But essentially, what Zelnick says is that he doesn't believe that cloud gaming is going to revolutionize the gaming space in the sense of pulling in people who haven't had an entryway into gaming to begin with. So that's been kind of like the pivotal argument about cloud gaming, right? Is like cloud gaming is making PC quality gaming accessible to people who don't want to drop $1,500 on a high-end gaming PC. What are you guys' reactions to that?
I did like at one point in the article he talked about the many millions of dollars they've made off of various games and how he just doesn't see it as realistic that they would double or triple those numbers. And I think that he's probably right. And as I've thought about cloud gaming, I've thought about it as something that's exciting for me who's already into gaming. But I think that he's right that it's not going to be a massive inroad to people that don't have any interest in gaming currently. It'll be an easy way for people to upgrade who are already into it in some way. But I don't think you're going to see like a mass uptick in gaming as cloud gaming becomes available.
Yeah, I think that, so the quote, at least from the GameStop GameSpot article is there were some parties who were saying there are 130 million to 140 million current gen consoles out there. There are billions of PCs out there. If you can make in a frictionless way console video games available to everyone who has a PC or a tablet or a phone, then your market size automatically would do 20 times just mathematically. Of course, that doesn't make any sense at all, because the implication is you are super interested in video games, but you were just unwilling to buy a console. Which is an interesting. I mean, he brings up a valid point about the audience that is inherently attracted to this sort of thing, and whether that is already within or outside the audience that is already playing games.
But I don't think it's an argument made in good faith, because I think it's a hyperbole on one end met by hyperbole on the opposite end of it. Because I don't think anybody who is in the cloud gaming space automatically thinks like anyone who owns a computer now will want to play fucking League of Legends or Monster Hunter World now. Like I don't think that's the thought. I mean, the market size does mathematically become 20 times larger because now everybody owns hardware that can do this thing. Like, so the theoretical market for it does grow by 20 times. The thing
what is the interest there?
The thing I take it, and that's the thing I'm getting to. The thing I take issue with in his response is that you don't have to have super interest in video games to jump into something that is more frictionless than what we currently have. So right now, all right, let's take my dad, for example. My dad has not played a video game in years, all right? But he used to play games. He used to love to play SimCity World or whatever, or Streets of SimCity, where you could like drive around the city you built. He used to love to play flight simulator games on his computer, stuff like that. He hasn't touched the game in 15, 20 years at this point, though. Because if my dad wanted one of those experiences now, he would have to go out. He'd have to buy at least a $400 console, then the $60 game, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a lot of steps to get from point A to point B. And he's not super interested in video games, but he has a cursory interest in it. Like, they enter his mind every now and again. If I'm playing something and he thinks it looks interesting, he'll like at least watch me play it. I don't know if he would jump in. But what it comes down to is like the marketing strategy that you implement. And I think about something like Stadia or xCloud. And if you're able to, let's take Stadia, for example. So the ideal state for Stadia is when you're watching a video on YouTube, you can click in and immediately pick that game up. Well, let's take that to advertising now. Let's take it for a game like Microsoft Flight Simulator, which appeals to a lot of old dudes who like flying model planes. Like, they don't want to shoot people in Call of Duty or like saw people in half in Gears of War. But man, getting to fly a Cessna over, St. Louis, like, that's really fucking cool to be. They see an advertisement for it on YouTube and realize, oh, I don't have to buy a $500 console to do this. I just have to click this ad and I get a 7-day free trial just to try this thing. Like,
that automatically renews.
But I mean, then you've taken a cursory interest. Targeting has become so incredible in marketing anymore. You've taken a cursory interest in model planes, attach that to a video game that may interest them, serve them an advertisement for it, and yeah, you're not going to get 2 billion people playing cloud gaming stuff, but you're going to get a hell of a lot more than 140 million playing consoles. So I don't think the argument's really in good faith one way or the other. Like, no, I don't think it's going to grow to 20 billion people playing, or 2 billion people playing, but I also don't think it's like a non-starter. Or that you have to be super interested in gaming to want to pursue it.
Sure. Well, I think that's the point, isn't it? The point is hopefully that someone like my girlfriend could become interested in it because it's it's marketed well, as you said, which I think is a really good point. 2, the barrier to entry is just a lot lower. I do wonder. This is an interesting time to bring up this conversation, especially because most people, I hope, are in their houses most of the day, and suddenly the appeal of, like, I know for myself, suddenly the appeal of playing on my Switch Maybe in bed, that's nice. Sure. Maybe playing on my phone in bed would be nice as well. But the majority of time I'm spent in my living room anyway. I wonder how the conversation will shift as the situation in the world shifts or fails to shift back to what normal is.
Yeah.
And I personally don't agree with him because he also makes kind of the false equivalency between cloud gaming and VR gaming. And I don't think those two are the same. I think one is like another device, another vehicle for playing a game in a new way. This is certainly a vehicle for playing a game in a new way, but much kind of more expansive than just putting on a headset and kind of immersing yourself in an experience in a new way. But I did like everything I think about now is filtered through the lens of COVID and the pandemic. And this story certainly made me kind of question about the direction that cloud gaming is going in and the trajectory of cloud gaming in the world at the moment.
I also think there's real quick, Larry, sorry. I think it's also worth pointing out, like, cloud gaming is not just about being able to attract new customers. It's about being able to keep people in your ecosystem as much as humanly possible. Like, and not just from a platform standpoint, but from a gameplay standpoint. Like, these games as services, like, okay, Apex isn't available on my phone, but I can go play PUBG Mobile or something. And it's like, it scratches the itch for me, but it's not the exact experience I want. But oh shit, now I can play Apex via xCloud or whatever. It keeps me in the Apex ecosystem longer. And like, I think that's what companies are just as interested in.
Yeah. And you know, you have convinced me. I've changed my mind on this. You should probably work in marketing, Luke. But
I'll think about it.
I just wanted to restate something you're saying, Cody. The VR argument in particular, VR increased the barrier to the experience, and cloud gaming definitely decreases that barrier.
Yeah, you need a box and an additional $500 piece of hardware.
If anything, there comes a point where cloud gaming breathes new life into VR.
That's true.
Way down the road.
You also need a lack of motion sickness, which is like a literal physical barrier for some people.
I don't get motion sick for anything. I'm the dude eating ice cream in the line to the tilt-a-whirl, but VR messed me up. I've never experienced that before.
Yeah. All right. Next story. Larry, I believe you put this one in here. Right. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to sit this one out because GameStop is a retail partner of ours. So.
Okay. And I don't have a lot to say on it. Just GameStop plans to close another 400 to 450 stores this year. Sorry, I didn't think ahead on how to do the stream marker here. Maybe we should tag out when I'm not the dude.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. It's fine.
I got that one up. But yeah, so GameStop plans to close another 400 to 450 stores this year. It's not really shocking. GameStop has just continued to struggle, and I'm looking at an article from Rebecca Valentine on gamesindustry.biz. But this is more than they closed last year. They have a plan to desaturate. They're closing their least profitable stores and hoping to increase the profit of the remaining stores, which is a pretty solid experience. You know, a couple weeks ago, Luke, you and I joked about how the mall when we lived in Knoxville had three separate. Yeah, there were 3 GameStops essentially in one mall.
There's 2 GameStops and an EB Games.
Yeah.
EB Games.
So you know, it's a good strategy, but I just threw it in there because it's interesting that it's just worth taking note that brick and mortar stores are continuing to struggle as the industry moves more toward digital and away from physical. And that's something that GameStop and other retailers are going to have to continue to think about, because especially with this new service that you can obtain Xboxes through, sure, you can buy that at the store, but it's yet another way that renders brick and mortar not quite necessary. And so there are just some adaptations they're going to need to make, and it's just something I've got my eye on.
Yeah. I mean, on top of the fact that they will be carrying discless consoles, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah. And I'm sure the pandemic
Yeah, I was gonna say
hard.
retail in general is just hurting because of the pandemic. And GameStop, this has probably only compounded GameStop's financial struggles.
All right. All right.
I've got the next one too.
Yeah, I got you.
Microsoft, this is from TheVerge.com by Tom Warren. The article's called Microsoft Snubs Apple's Olive Branch to Cloud Gaming, a Bad Experience for Customers. And just to summarize this, Apple has expressed a willingness to have xCloud in the Apple Store, which is a pretty big deal. But their stipulation is it's not just that xCloud would be an app in the App Store, but each individual game must be registered as an individual app. And the reason that that matters is because the Apple Store, the App Store takes a 30% cut of in-app purchases for every app. And so it would open Apple up to taking a 30% cut of all in-game purchases of all the games on xCloud, which is a pretty big deal. And although that's not what Microsoft pushed back with, I think that we all know that that is a factor. But what Microsoft pushed back with, I think, is equally valid, which is they say that would be a bad experience for customers. Apple doesn't, expect Netflix to register each individual movie as its own app on the App Store. And that's what xCloud is really trying to do. They're trying to create an online digital library of games in the vein of a Netflix or Spotify. And so Apple's open to the conversation, but Microsoft is not open to it in the way that Apple is open to doing it.
Par for the course for Apple. I mean, This is the exact, not the exact thing, but this is similar to Epic's concern with it, and this is a concern that Microsoft has beyond just mobile gaming as well. It's just like where's the money for purchases that are then used on Microsoft going? So like with crossplay stuff, like well, if you buy it on PlayStation, you can then come and use it on Xbox. Like that's a valid concern as well. And so I'm with you, Larry. Like the customer thing is a true thing and an easy way to kind of have the consumer friendly response. But at the end of the day, it comes down to like 30% is a massive chunk and a bigger chunk than any other partner really that Xbox works with takes on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All I'll say is that, as you said, latest example of Apple's kind of very poor policies with its partners on the App Store. And another example of Microsoft also came to the defense of Epic in that kind of back and forth between Epic and Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing themselves any favors here.
Yeah, it is a problem that is gonna, I think, need to be solved for things like Stadia and xCloud to really take off. I mean, there's billions of iOS devices that are in regular use in the world, and not being able to be on those is a big barrier.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Cody, I think you've got this next one.
Yeah, this doesn't have to be long, but Epic announced that another entrance and another kind of part of its ongoing digital concert series in Fortnite is going to happen on this Saturday, the 19th of September. And it'll feature Anderson .Paak, who I am a big fan of, and I believe you are a big fan of as well, Luke.
Oh yeah, massive fan of Anderson.
Yeah,
even I like him.
Yeah, so
and I don't know anything about music.
I'll be tuning into this.
I will too. I just kind of wanted to put this in here because we never really got to talk about the really creative stuff that Epic has been doing with live, quote unquote, live music in Fortnite since the pandemic started. And I think a lot of people were a lot of industry prognosticators have been kind of pondering what the future of the live performance industry and concert industry is. I don't think this is the future of it, but this is certainly a creative solution to the kind of challenges venues are facing right now and musicians are facing in lieu of being able to perform in front of massive crowds.
Mm-hmm. This, I just love, it's no secret that I'm not a fan of Fortnite. I don't like the game on a personal level, but I've got to hand it to them on how creative Epic has been with that game. All the cool things they've done. The last concert performance, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't someone I was into, but I watched like a video of it after the fact, and I was like, this is a really cool experience.
It was probably the Travis Scott concert.
Done
Yeah.
Travis Scott, Marshmello, Dominic Fike, I think.
And I weighed in a lot into how games are a third place for a lot of us, like a sort of like a store we go and hang out at, a place where we get together with our friends, and seeing these sorts of experiences making their way into those spaces is just really awesome to me. And I'll probably be jumping in this as well. I'm going to have to go download Fortnite. So great job, Epic.
I love this too. The intersection of, I think we talked about the intersection of games and music last week.
Yeah.
Even. I don't remember. Oh, was it Tony Hawk? I don't remember. It was some story. But one thing I would love to be able to see though is like all of these artists are of similar genres, and I'd love to see like how games can branch out into some other things, you know, whether that's like rock or indie music or something like that. And Fortnite may not be the space for that, but
yeah, they definitely know who the audience is and
but do
where
they?
the market's at.
Like, I wouldn't say Anderson .Paak is like, I don't know what the Venn diagram looks like between people who play Fortnite and people who listen to Anderson .Paak.
I would say he's pretty huge. He's featured on a ton of songs that people who play Fortnite would know.
Yeah,
I'll say. I think they're also sort of, the fact that this will continue into October gives them the chance to branch out a little bit into people like Anderson .Paak. Like Travis Scott is definitely where their basic demo is at in terms of music listening habits. But I think Anderson .Paak is obviously, perhaps could introduce him to a lot of people, but also he's not too far outside that genre.
Yeah. Big Boy Roy says that Pac is dope. First Fortnite concert I'm interested in tuning into. I would encourage people to go watch the Travis Scott concert. It was fucking awesome. Like, and I'm not a huge Travis, like I enjoy some of Travis Scott stuff, but that concert was awesome. You should definitely watch it.
If you're sitting here thinking this is really stupid, I would never do this, like, just go check that out. It is really cool.
It's legit just like a vibe. Like,
yeah,
people just flying around as this giant ass hologram of Travis Scott walking around performing his songs. Like, it's a really cool outlet, and I'm excited to see more of it. I also just hope that he sings that song about breast augmentation. All right, next story. Hold on, let me switch while I get our next story pulled up. Oh, it's Larry.
I've just got a couple of quick hitters. The first one is, as you are aware, it is past September 15th, and Apex Legends did not get crossplay. So the super reliable data miner has missed the mark this time. So that's disappointing, but you know, it's supposed to be coming soon, so hopefully. And then the other one is that if you're a fan of Left 4 Dead, we're getting new Left 4 Dead 2 content, like over a decade after the most recent Left 4 Dead 2 content. I freaking loved that game. I was obsessed with that game. I was more into that game than any game I've ever been into. And it's not just like a little dose. We're getting at least a new campaign. We're getting 20 new survival maps. They've improved gameplay. Like they've actually reworked some of the animations. They've done a lot of like updating to the game, and I am really excited to jump back into it. And it's coming next week.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's so weird.
Like, oh, we haven't done anything with this in a while, guys.
Well, it's mostly community done, which gives me pause when I think about Forge maps and Halo. But this is deeper than that. It's not like they used the level editor to make this stuff. Like, some people super into this game and good with technology did some insane stuff to this game, and I can't wait to see it.
People who toy with the Source engine are crazy. They can produce some awesome stuff.
Yeah, the hackers in Left 4 Dead were unbelievable in the stupid stuff they could do.
Big Boy Roy says, so cool of them to do this instead of making a crappy remake and charging $40 for it.
So true.
All right, well, let's move on. That's going to do it for the slant. Let's move on to Offbeat, which is where we talk about some of the crazy off-the-wall stories from the games industry. I've only got one story that was listed in here. Sorry if we missed anything weirder than this, and this isn't even all that weird, but this is from PCGamer.com from Melindy Hetfeld. Asus Republic of Gamers and IKEA are teaming up to create a line of gaming furniture. So the story's in the headline there. But IKEA is going to have a new line of gaming furniture alongside Asus Republic of Gamers. Go ahead.
This is great news for you, Luke, because you're always complaining about how uncomfortable gaming chairs are. So anyone entering the fray to like try and bring something to you, that it's great.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this right now. Hold on, I'm standing up. I got myself a new chair. I've been looking at Secret Lab chairs because I really wanted like whatever the World's chair was going to be. And if I'm being totally honest, and don't tell my wife that I said this, I'm probably going to regret this. And I'm probably going to want whatever that World's chair is because it's going to be fucking awesome. But I ended up buying this beauty rest. And I don't know if you can see this on my camera, but it's like plush and leather and just super. It feels like I'm sitting in a fucking recliner, but it does all the things that an office chair does. It's incredible. It's made me want to sit inside at my desk while I work rather than outside, which is where I normally sit to work. But yes, I sat in a billion gaming chairs at that store when I bought this, and I was like, all of these things suck. All of these chairs suck. So, but I'm also just like really into battle stations. I'm constantly on our battle stations, or like I've got like Pinterest boards of battle stations for when I get my own space. And I think there's becoming more and more of a market for like game specific furniture that isn't like the over the top like crazy LEDs and bright ass colors. Like a lot of the battle stations I see anymore are like super rustic. They've got, you know, like house plants around them and stuff, and it's like I'm probably gonna vibe with whatever Asus and IKEA come up with for this line, and I will pay the 25% markup just for having the word gaming on it for whatever they sell.
Can you quickly open the link that I just messaged you?
Yeah.
And share this with our audience.
What the fuck is this? I'm getting it. How much is it? Hold on.
So you're talking about them making it a bit more rustic.
So who makes this?
This is
Cluvens.
Is it Cluvens?
Oh, I've seen this.
Is this
real?
thing
horrifies me.
This is real.
It you need to find it in action.
Kind of it. Yeah, it's supposed to be immersive.
The thing like unfolds and leans back, and so you lay down in it.
All right,
and
hold
it
on.
folds you up in it.
There's a tweet. There's a tweet further down. Oh my god. This thing better have a built-in bathroom in it because I am not getting out of that thing in any reasonable amount of time.
Also, if the machines decide to become sentient, this is not the thing you want in your house.
You're gonna wake up one morning, this thing just fucking hovering over your bed. This thing is wild. How much is this?
I just see it snapping my back. That's all I can see.
I don't know. Is there a price set? Oh, it's
$2,000.
$1,900. Yeah, $2,000.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. That is way cheaper than I thought it was gonna be. I thought I was gonna open up this thing. I mean, for a Secret Labs chair, you're gonna pay like $500. So for 4 Secret Labs chair, you can have this thing that I don't know. This thing looks like it could give you a massage.
Are the monitors included? Like,
no.
Do you have to bring your own?
It supports up to 3 monitors.
It looks like what the origin story of a Marvel villain. Like they trapped in this chair, breaks their back, and they become fused to it.
Look, you better be good at cable management with this thing too, or else you're gonna like these monitors are gonna fucking fall on your face. I would be all about this. This is so extra. I'm all talking about this rustic and like, but you give me this scorpion chair. I'm all about it, man. With my 3 screens, just lean back. Oh my gosh, pooping in a bucket, South Park style.
You never leave that chair, yeah.
No. This is where I live now. I mean, I'd have to mortgage it.
Big boy Roy's losing his mind over this shit.
I will encourage you, anyone who's watching this, because I'm not reading it on stream, go click on that tweet and see the guy's threaded tweet to that tweet from it, and just have a good laugh with me. So
If you can somehow program it to walk around your house too while you're in it.
Someone will.
yeah,
Someone
someone
has.
will. Oh, that's awesome. Well, you out weirded my weird story, because this was the 12th, which was Saturday, so that counts.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Cody. All right, guys.
Last minute.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 75 of PvA Radio. It was a wild ride, guys, and I appreciate everyone being in here with us for it. We're going to wrap up the podcast now. We'll stick around for about 10 minutes after the show for the after party lounge. So if you're hanging out over on Twitch, stay for after the song. But let's go ahead, go around the circle. Who are you? Where can people find you? And what are you going to be tweeting about this week? Larry.
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at StillInFlux. Made it to Diamond in Apex, so you'll see me be tweeting about my my fight to get into Masters before the split ends. And then complaining about various things because hey, it's Twitter.
All right, Cod Maw.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like Darth Maul, Cog Maw, Cod Maw.
It does sound like a Star Wars character. I'm Cody. You can find me on Twitter at ProElectioneer. I will be tweeting dispatches from the Anderson .Paak concert on Saturday.
Nice. My name is Luke. You can find me on Twitter at itishoagie, and I will be tweeting the uncensored lyrics from that song about breast augmentation that Anderson .Paak will definitely not be performing in the Fortnite concert.
Probably not to 14-year-olds.
I'm trying to think about what he will, though, because if it's not about breast augmentation, it's about weed. Those are what most of his songs are about. I guess 14-year-old Fortnite players are smoking weed.
Yeah, they're vaping.
Yeah, that's right. It tastes like cotton candy. But all right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. This has been PvA Radio every week over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you don't catch us live, you can watch us on youtube.com/PvA Radio or podcast services everywhere. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, leave a review. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Why, that's the second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Can I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Watch your live music on that shortwave radio.